Many of the people who want to compare the effectiveness of firearms and bear spray look at these two studies and compare them. The author of these studies says he didn't intend for people to compare them in this way. I've highlighted the fact that the firearms study was looking at the success rate against aggressive bears, while the bear spray study was looking at bear encounters in general. This is a very important distinction. For some reason, the firearms study directly mentions that you should consider carrying bear spray because it has a better success rate than firearms. I do not have a reason for why this contradiction exists. However, I wanted to include this information for the sake of showing the complete picture. When you look at the methodology of the two studies, you see that they obviously can't be compared fairly. First of all, the majority of the bears that were bear sprayed were not aggressive. The point of the firearms study was not to determine effectiveness, but to find why guns failed to be successful. This is why the firearms study included cases where people couldn't access their gun in time. The bear spray study, on the other hand, excluded these cases where they couldn't access the spray. The cases where spray was used on aggressive brown bears was few. Fewer still was the amount of incidents where spray was used on aggressive charging brown bears. At this point, we realize there is not enough data here, only about 14 relevant incidents, to say that bear spray works well enough on aggressive bears to bet your life on it. To put these numbers into perspective, let's say you have an experimental parachute that has failed 2 out of the 14 times it was deployed. These are not good odds, in my opinion. More importantly, those people who are actually charged by aggressive brown bears, the spray successfully stopped the attack only 33% of the time. Stephen Herrero was a contributor to both the firearm and bear spray studies. He also came to the conclusion that it's not a good idea to bet your life on bear spray. He also said it's ineffective at deterring black bears who are used to eating human food. The author of the studies also mentioned the fact that if you accurately shoot a bear, it's not going to come back later and attack you again. The same can't be said for bear spray, as it can only ever be a temporary deterrent. Since this firearms study is not particularly relevant or useful due to its methodology, we'll have to find a better one. This study not only gives us a useful answer, but it also has the descriptions and sources for the incidents that took place, so you can read them for yourself. Handguns seem to be very effective for bear defense. Their effectiveness is highly dependent on a couple of factors though. First of all, you have to be able to shoot accurately and quickly. You also have to have the gun readily accessible. And you have to use deep penetrating, hard cast lead bullets, or similar non-expanding type bullets. Now, this study has been criticized for the fact that it is not peer-reviewed and that it has not appeared in any scientific publications. I don't believe that either of these criticisms are valid, however, because we don't need a third-party stamp of approval to acknowledge what is both obviously and provably true. As I mentioned before, this study is completely transparent and clear about its methodology and sources. So in conclusion, guns are definitively more effective than bear spray. That said, many people will still continue to carry bear spray because they don't have the skill or knowledge to effectively use a firearm. The choice of what to carry is obviously up to you. But in my opinion, I'd encourage these people to get sufficient firearms training and a firearm to complement the bear spray that they normally carry. The reason for this is that I believe any advantage you can get to preserve your life is worth exploiting. It's also worth mentioning that that firearm and training is also useful outside bear country, as the amount of people killed or injured by bears is very small compared to the amount of people that are killed or injured by other people. Finally, I'd like to mention a couple of important points from a game warden's encounters. First of all, if you can't see more than 50 yards in front of you, you should have your gun or bear spray ready and in your hand. Second of all, bear spray definitely can work, but if the wind blows that spray in your face, that's basically a death sentence if there's a bear charging you. Firearms don't have that problem.